Meet Ura Igasa, a woman completely and utterly fed up with modern society. Lying in her messy room, she sarcastically reassures her mom over the phone. But let's rewind a few hours to see what pushed her to this point. Her day job is a monotonous grind at a generic call center agency. She's on the front lines, calmly handling another customer's furious complaint. The caller's rage intensifies, accusing her of wasting his precious time. Finally free, she retreats to the smoking booth for a moment of peace. Her coworkers watch from afar, clearly unnerved by her presence. With a cynical smirk, she thinks of annoying customers as just the spice that makes her break better. Elsewhere, a colleague stares at a strange notice, completely baffled by its contents. The company notice announces the smoking room's removal, officially killing her last bit of joy. Her day ends, leading her back to a rundown apartment complex she calls home. Sprawled in her disaster of a room, she lights up, completely defeated by the world. Suddenly, a brilliant magic circle erupts from the floor, engulfing her in its light. Her mind short-circuits, unable to process the impossible sight before her. In a flash, she's violently transported from her bedroom to a strange stone dungeon. Dazed and confused, she desperately tries to figure out where on earth she's landed. Her attention is suddenly drawn to a pair of feet standing just inches away. Before her sits a small, horned child in a uniform, looking both injured and awestruck. Staring at the bizarre creature, Yura can only wonder what fresh hell she's stumbled into now. The small demon nervously introduces himself as Grimuel, an archaeology student. He quickly assures Yura he's harmless, aware that demon might have a bad rap in her world. Grimuel suddenly remembers a crucial, terrifying detail. He frantically warns her that angels are the real enemy, pushing his kind to the brink of extinction. Grabbing her shoulders, he pleads that without help, his entire country is doomed. Ura, completely overloaded, can barely process the flood of fantasy nonsense. When asked what she understood, she dryly confirms she only caught his name. She complains that hearing too many new words in a row is just plain exhausting. Her frustration finally boils over, but her sudden shout is too much for the injured demon. Realizing she just knocked out her only source of information, Yura scrambles to check if he's okay. To her relief, the little demon is just sleeping, not dead. Now completely alone in a strange dungeon, she's left to her own devices. When life gets weird, Yura's solution is simple. Have a smoke and think it over. She's thrilled to find her pack of cigarettes survived the trip, a small win in a crazy day. Even her trusty lighter made it through, a sign that maybe her luck hasn't completely run out. Deciding to smoke outside, she steps through a nearby doorway to get some fresh air. But she's immediately greeted by two angels holding a defeated horned captive. The celestial beings stare back, completely bewildered by this strange, smoking human. Ura's mind races, noting the attackers have no horns, meaning they can't be demons. The horrifying scene finally clicks, connecting the boy's warning to the crying victim before her. Meanwhile, her only potential ally, Grimuel, is still fast asleep on the cold stone floor. Ura stands firm in the doorway, taking a defiant drag from her cigarette. The angel tries to deny their identity, but his nervous stutter isn't very convincing. Their cover blown, they declare her an enemy for cornering the little demon and fly in to attack. Seeing a literal sword, Yura's brain screams, "That'll hurt," and she wisely retreats. Trapped and out of options, she takes one last massive puff from her cigarette. She exhales a cloud of smoke that horrifically morphs into a giant, menacing skull. The advancing angel stops dead in his tracks, completely baffled by this strange magic. Ura is just as surprised as he is, yelling that something just came out of her. As the smoke skull attacks, a spectral sword forms in her hand, ready for a fight she never wanted. The smoke skull lunges forward, ready to take a massive bite out of the terrified angel. Everyone, including Yura, can only stare as the phantom skull completely engulfs its victim. The angel's mind short-circuits, his eyes turning to crosses as he questions what's happening. A twitch in his eye signals that whatever this magic is, it's having a serious effect. Suddenly, a dark, viscous substance erupts from the angel's eyes and mouth. Ura recoils in absolute horror, screaming that the whole display is just plain gross. The strange black liquid continues to pour from the overwhelmed celestial being. Her attacker collapses in a heap, leaving his partner completely stunned and Yura splattered. Covered in the gross aftermath, Yura is officially having the worst day of her life. The remaining angel stares, realizing this strange human is far more dangerous than she looks. The angel realizes her smoke carries a lethal dose of what he calls impurity. Panicked, he declares an emergency and flies off to summon an archangel for backup. Ura just watches him go, taking another drag as he becomes a speck in the sky. The rescued demon wakes up, tearfully clinging to her and calling her Lady Yanakasu. She warns him to stay away from her dangerous smoke. though she has no intention of stopping. Overcome with emotion, the little demon thanks her with all his heart. Ura, looking utterly drained and still covered in gunk, tiredly accepts his gratitude. A sudden memory flashes through her mind, the sign for the smoking area at her old job. She recalls her co-workers' disdain, remembering how she'd smoked defiantly despite their judgment. Back in the present, she embraces her role as a reluctant hero, a cigarette her only constant companion. Ura and the demon boy survey the desolate landscape, a giant cross of light looming over them. The cigarette she's smoking now tastes unbelievably good, a strange perk of this new world. Grimwell excitedly shows her an ancient carving of a smoking goddess he calls Great Mother Yanikasu. He explains the title means Mother of All Filth, a name Ura finds incredibly insulting. The little demon begs her to embrace her destiny and fight the angels to save his world. But Ura, looking completely done, flatly refuses to be a hero just for the fun of it. She leans in, telling the kid that forcing people to fight is a terrible thing to do. Grimuel agrees, suggesting they find a safe place to chill out first, a plan Ura wholeheartedly supports. She's suddenly reminded of her current state, still covered in the gross black liquid from the angel. Luckily, Grimuel offers a change of clothes, and Ura gratefully accepts his thoughtful gesture. Now in a fresh set of clothes, Ura feels a little more in control of the situation. She triumphantly pulls out her pack, ready for a well-deserved smoke break. Ura muses that a cigarette tastes best after you've been forced to wait for it. But a dreadful thought crosses her mind. What if this world doesn't even have cigarettes? She recalls the ancient carving, realizing she might be the only one with a personal supply. It dawns on her that the angels had no idea what her smoke was, let alone how to fight it. A quick mental calculation reveals she has 19 cigarettes left, totaling just 57 minutes of smoking time. The horrifying reality sinks in. Her precious supply will barely last an hour. Her mind goes blank, filled with a single soul-crushing thought. This is the end. In a desperate panic, she immediately lights up, trying to smoke her way through the anxiety. Grimuel apologizes for the trouble, but Ura just tells him to relax since he protected her. With a grim expression, she takes a drag while contemplating her limited, irreplaceable supply. A quick inventory reveals 9 fresh cigarettes and 5 half-smoked butts she can relight. She hates mixing the used butts with the fresh ones, admitting it makes her brain feel sad. Ura reflects that she never truly appreciated a clean cigarette until she knew she couldn't get more. Each pristine smoke is now as precious to her as the single strawberry on a slice of cake. In a sudden fit of anxiety-fueled rage, she completely crushes the pack in her hand. Her cigarette falls from her lips as she freezes, realizing the catastrophic mistake she just made. There it is, her entire priceless supply, now a mangled and utterly useless mess. Grimuel stares in absolute shock, completely baffled by her sudden act of self-sabotage. Ura stares at the tragic remains of her only comfort in this bizarre world. Her face is a perfect mask of soul-crushing, nicotine-deprived despair. But a firm hand suddenly clenches, commanding her to stop her meltdown. A towering, horned man appears, demanding to know who she is since she's clearly not an angel. Grimuel completely panics, screaming a strange word at the imposing figure. The newcomer is taken aback, clearly confused by the boy's terrified outburst. As Ura collapses from the stress, Grimuel frantically calls out the man's name. Tauros. The little demon proudly announces he's the one who successfully summoned the legendary Lady Yanikasu. Tauros is completely stunned by the revelation, his stoic expression cracking in disbelief. He looks down at the crumpled woman on the ground, skeptically wondering if this is really their savior. Tauros looms over her, demanding proof that she's the legendary goddess. Grimuel begs him to stand down, reminding him that gatekeepers should be peaceful. Mumbling to herself, Ura realizes she needs to provide some kind of evidence. She springs up, tearfully trying to light a ruined cigarette while screaming for an apology. Her sudden, intense rage catches the stoic warrior completely off guard. Ura unleashes another giant smoke skull, sending it hurtling towards the stunned demon. The attack hits its mark, and the same gross black liquid erupts from Tauros's face. Overwhelmed by the smoke's power, the mighty gatekeeper begs her to stop. The giant demon collapses to his knees, completely defeated by her strange magic. Ura stands over him, proving her power in the most dramatic way possible. Ura stares down at the mighty warrior, her expression cold and unimpressed. Grimuel frantically begs them to stop fighting, torn between his hero and his idol. Tauros looks up in disbelief, his stoic demeanor completely shattered by her power. She halts the smoke skull's attack, stopping it just inches from the demon's face. Instead of fear, Tauros is intrigued, noting the smoke has a sweet and spicy quality. He admits that while he doesn't understand her magic, its scent is strangely calming. Unable to resist, the gatekeeper takes a huge bite out of the phantom skull. Ura's inner familiar perks up, sensing a potential new follower in the making. Now a true believer, Tauros humbly asks if she would share one of her white sticks. With a triumphant smirk, Ura realizes he's finally speaking her language. Tauros marvels at the superior taste, while Ura explains he just smoked one of her used butts. She proposes a brilliant idea. They should team up and mass-produce her magical smokes. With her new bodyguard in tow, Ura gets a piggyback ride to the demon's village. The so-called village is a collection of houses precariously perched on a massive ancient tree. This isn't just any tree. It's a colossal, sentient being with a rather unsettling face. Grimwell proudly explains this treetop community is the safest place around, conveniently close to the main castle. Ura can't help but notice their new home is giving them the stink eye of the century. Grimwell tries to smooth things over, but his words are less convincing now that Ura and Tauros are tied up. The giant tree immediately proves him wrong by swatting the little demon away like a fly. Even while captured, Ura's top priority is salvaging a broken cigarette from her ruined pack. With a disgusted peh, the giant tree spits out a familiar goo-covered figure. Grimwell lands with a wet splat, completely drenched in the tree's saliva. Unfazed, the little demon cheerfully explains this is just the gatekeeper's way of saying hello. Ura's biggest concern is her precious cigarette getting soggy and unsmokable. She asks if they really have to go in there, and Tauros agrees that getting her smokes wet would be a disaster. With his priorities straight, Tauros declares he's going in, refusing to let his new goddess's supply be ruined. The tree responds by blasting them with a high-pressure stream of its own special welcome. Ura is completely submerged, her expression a perfect mix of rage and resignation. A vision flashes through her mind, a prophecy promising infinite smokes if she'll just be their savior. The tree then violently spits both her and Tauros out, sending them flying through the air. Tauros skids to a halt, having taken the brunt of their rough landing. Ura emerges from the splash, looking less like a goddess and more like a drowned cat. She furiously shoves the soggy pack in his face, yelling that he failed his one job, protecting the smokes. Ura gives him a crash course in nicotine poisoning, warning him not to touch the wet tobacco. Holding up a single damp survivor, she asks for something to dry it with, and Tauros confirms he has just the thing. It turns out their forceful entry landed them right inside Tauros's treetop home. Inside, the mighty warrior gently fans his new goddess dry, prioritizing her comfort and her cigarette. Tauros notes that the tree, Garutu, doesn't usually speak, which surprises Ura. He figures the tree only spoke because it sensed her divine presence and her tasty white sticks. Ura puts the salvaged cigarette to her lips, but a suspicious drop of liquid dangles from the end. Ura realizes the tree's prophecy is simple. Defeat the gods, get infinite cigarettes. She recalls how easily her smoke power overwhelmed even the mighty Tauros. Lounging comfortably, she decides that fighting for a good smoke is the true flavor of life. Now that she's finally relaxed, a powerful craving for a proper cigarette hits her hard. But their attempt to roll new smokes was a disaster, leaving them with a burnt, foul-tasting failure. Tauros consoles her, suggesting the smelly parchment paper they used might be the culprit. He then cheerfully clarifies that the parchment was actually made from angel skin, horrifying Yuri. Tauros proudly explains that demons are resourceful, recycling every part of their celestial enemies. Completely stunned, Yura just stares as he offers to show her the angel processing workshop. The ancient tree confirms this gruesome practice is why the angels hate them. But it's a matter of survival. The ancient tree falls silent, its grim explanation hanging heavy in the air. Ura decides it's time for some reverse engineering to avoid another crafting failure. With her two demon companions watching intently, she presents the first piece for dissection. Grimwell nervously volunteers for the delicate operation, terrified of ruining her precious supply. But Ura grins, insisting that salvaging every last shred is the only way they'll survive. She meticulously peels the paper from a used butt, treating it like a priceless artifact. With the focus of a surgeon, she carefully separates the paper from its precious contents. The unburnt tobacco is successfully extracted, a tiny victory in her desperate quest. Exhausted but proud, she presents the meager results of her painstaking labor. Her demon friends can only stare at the salvaged pile, comparing it to cork and leaves. Grimuel asks if cork is for wine, and Ura's ears perk up at the mention of a wine cellar. A sudden brilliant idea sparks in the little demon's mind. He excitedly suggests a trip to the capital, then immediately tries to play it cool. Ura decides their best bet is to find some local leaves to test out for smoking. As they prepare to head out, Grimwell warns that the forest is much safer during the day. He explains their world's cosmology, revealing that angels retreat to the moon every morning. Tauros connects the dots, realizing this is why the angels only attack them at night. Ura points to the edge of their flat world, asking what happens if you fall off. Looking up at the sky, she's surprised to see not one, but two moons hanging overhead. With their quest on hold until morning, her two demon companions immediately pass out. Ura reflects on her bizarre new life, glad she at least has a roof over her head. Her morning plan is simple. Find a local leaf that can be smoked, then figure out the rest. But a wave of anxiety washes over her as she considers the possibility of failure. The thought of a world without nicotine is too terrifying to even contemplate. Overwhelmed by the stress, she decides to just sleep it off and deal with it tomorrow. She tries to drift off, but her mind is still racing with nicotine-fueled worries. Her nightmares are filled with angels carrying away her last smoke, telling her to quit. Bolting upright in a cold sweat, she realizes sleep is completely out of the question. Fueled by pure desperation, she decides she'll smoke anything she can get her hands on. She presents a random assortment of forest junk, demanding to know which one is smokable. Desperate for a fix, Yura shoves a random stick in her mouth, hoping for the best. She sparks her lighter, determined to smoke anything that will burn. One puff is all it takes to realize she's just inhaling burnt wood. Her next brilliant idea involves trying to smoke a rock, which obviously fails. Undeterred, she moves on to lighting a suspicious-looking leaf. The taste is just as bad, and her frustration reaches a boiling point. Her search leads her to a family of adorable but highly unsmokable mushroom creatures. But picking one up reveals a terrifying set of razor-sharp teeth.
Staring at the angry fungus, a strange sense of calm washes over her.
Her quest a total failure. She's brought to tears by her nicotine-deprived misery. All she wants is a cigarette. Without one, her world is completely falling apart. Her companions watch in horror as she desperately tries to smoke the angry fungus. Tauros is convinced only the legendary Yanakasu would consume a poison mushroom so casually. Grimwell offers her a small, leafy creature, insisting this one is much safer to eat. Without waiting for an answer, the little demon shoves the leafy snack right into her mouth. She reluctantly chews on the strange offering, her face a perfect mask of misery. Suddenly, a familiar and welcome sensation jolts through her system. Her eyes wide with hope, she immediately demands another one from the startled demon boy. Clutching the new leaf creature, she ignores their pleas for her to rest, her desperation palpable. With a flick of her lighter, she prepares to smoke the little plant, praying this is the fix she needs. She takes a deep drag, the little creature's terrified expression doing nothing to stop her. A wave of pure, unadulterated bliss washes over her as the smoke hits her lungs. It's not nicotine, but it's smokable, and right now that's all that matters in the world. But as the initial relief fades, she notices something else entirely unexpected. The leafy snack's healing power is amplified 100 times over when she smokes it. Her companions confirm this is a brand new phenomenon, meaning the power is hers alone. Ura realizes she stumbled upon a classic cheat skill, smoking to activate healing powers. Grimwell is absolutely ecstatic, cheering on his goddess and her incredible new ability. A confident smirk spreads across Yura's face as she finally feels in control. She coolly decides that if she's a hero with a cheat skill, she'd better get an infinite supply of these new smokes. Grimwell pulls out a map revealing the demon's main stronghold, Abyss Laguna Castle. He excitedly lays out their grand plan to travel through a maze and reach the demon capital. But he freezes, remembering Yura's brain short-circuits with too much new information. Thinking on his feet, he simplifies the plan. Let's just find the nearest town for now. Ura, now dressed in a surprisingly fitting nun's outfit, feels this whole adventure is a bit much for her. Grimwell is completely starstruck by her new look, comparing her to the ancient texts. He proudly reveals he sewed the outfit himself, using her exact measurements from the prophecy. As they get ready to move, Ura stops the enthusiastic demon with a critical question. With a serious look, she asks if he's ever even heard of tobacco. Grimwell just stares back, completely baffled and on the verge of tears from his own ignorance. With only 18 cigarettes left, Ura chews on an unlit one to conserve her precious supply. As Grimwell leads them to safety, she admits that not smoking is still better than nothing at all. But her patience wears thin as she grinds her teeth, the unlit cigarette a poor substitute. The craving intensifies, her expression twisting with pure nicotine withdrawal. She finally admits to herself that all she wants in the world is a real smoke. The exhaustion from their journey only makes the urge stronger, but she knows she can't survive without them. A sudden determined glint appears in her eye as a new plan begins to form. Her gaze falls on a nearby bush, sparking a brilliant realization. Tobacco is just a leaf. With a flick of her lighter, she declares that if this world has no cigarettes, she'll just make her own. Examining one of her last smokes, she realizes it's nothing more than dried leaves rolled in paper. With a confident smirk, she concludes that all she needs to do is roll some dried leaves in paper. She turns to Grimuel, casually asking if he happens to have any paper on him. The little demon's face lights up, enthusiastically confirming that he does. He proudly presents a sheet of parchment, asking if this will work for her. Ura's confident expression falters, her mind filled with nothing but question marks. She explains that her cigarette paper is different, but Grimuel admits he's no paper expert. Ura strokes her chin, contemplating if this strange material will be a suitable substitute. Deciding beggars can't be choosers, she declares anything is fine as long as she can smoke it. She gets down on the ground, ready to begin her desperate crafting session as Grimuel watches on. Ura asks for a safe place to work, deadpanning that this is basically weapon manufacturing. With an unlit cigarette for moral support, she carefully arranges the mystery leaves on the parchment. She fumbles with the contents, trying to get the perfect distribution for her makeshift smoke. With the focus of a bomb disposal expert, she begins to roll her creation. The delicate process continues, her expression a mix of hope and desperation. Grimuel questions her methods, but Ura just lights a real cigarette, down to 17 for inspiration. She proudly presents the finished product, a lumpy, oversized, and frankly sad-looking cigar. Grimuel nervously asks if that thing is safe, while Ura notes its unique aroma. She waves him off, confidently declaring that as a seasoned smoker she'll be fine. With a flick of her lighter, she takes a massive, hopeful drag from her monstrous creation. The taste is so unbelievably foul that her entire reality begins to melt in disgust. Ura immediately collapses, gagging on the taste of her failed experiment. Grimuel panics, rushing to the side of his fallen goddess. He finds her completely knocked out by the foul smoke, her creation still dangling from her lips. Just then, a brilliant light pierces through the dark woods. The little demon's face drains of color, realizing they've been followed. An entire squadron of angels descends, swords at the ready for a fight. The celestial beings complain about a foul stench in the air that's making them sick. A medic angel confirms the reports are true, tending to one of Ura's earlier victims. Their leader orders the troops to advance and surround the source of the impurity. Grimuel, carrying the unconscious Ura, knows they're completely cornered. Grimuel steels himself, vowing to protect Lady Yanakasu at all costs. He desperately searches for an escape route, but they're completely surrounded. Suddenly, his eyes land on Ura's pocket, and a brilliant, desperate plan is born. As the angels advance, the foul air from Ura's failed smoke bomb makes them physically ill. Their leader barks an order for everyone to cover their noses, but the stench is overwhelming. The commander stands his ground, trying to pinpoint the source of the nauseating odor. He realizes they've been using the smell as a guide, leading them right to their target. But Grimuel has set a trap, using one of Ura's precious cigarettes as a decoy smoke signal. He hopes the decoy will scatter their forces, since the real enemy isn't where the smoke is. His confidence shatters as he realizes a lit cigarette means the smoker must be close by. Grimuel's plan hits a snag as he realizes the angels might be immune if they don't inhale the smoke. But the sheer stench of Ura's failed creation is more than enough to make the angels physically ill. Their leader, overwhelmed by the foul air, orders a full retreat to regroup in the sky. The celestial squadron flies off, leaving Grimuel and his unconscious goddess in peace. The little demon breathes a sigh of relief, realizing Ura's weapon saved them after all. He stares at the decoy, recognizing the smoke from the cigarette she'd told him to get rid of. As Ura begins to stir, he gets a strange sense of déjà vu from the lingering, awful smell. She suddenly bolts upright, gasping for air as the foul taste brings her back to reality. Grimuel cheers that she's awake, while Ura mutters that she genuinely thought she was dead. Her eyes immediately lock onto the smoldering decoy, her last precious cigarette burning away. In a frantic panic, Ura tries to salvage every last bit of her burning cigarette. She turns to Grimuel, demanding to know if he's the one who lit her precious smoke. The little demon explains he used it as a smokescreen to fend off an angel attack while she was out cold. Ura listens, taking a drag from what's left of her last good cigarette. She can't even be mad at him, realizing he was just trying to protect her. With a sigh, she thanks him, and Grimuel eagerly offers to help her craft more weapons. Ura immediately shuts him down, calling her last experiment a headache-inducing failure. The little demon sweats nervously, admitting he really thought she was making a superweapon. His assumption leaves her completely speechless, the memory of her failure still fresh, but her eyes catch the lingering smoke from her failed creation, still rising from the forest floor. A horrifying thought strikes her as she stares at the smoldering evidence. She realizes Grimuel didn't just light one cigarette to save her. He'd placed another one on a pile of rocks, a tiny beacon of burning hope. A third was wedged into a tree, its smoke curling into the night air. The little demon had even built a bizarre signal fire out of her precious smokes. With trembling hands, Ura checks her pack, praying her fears are wrong. She rips open the seal, her heart pounding with nicotine-fueled dread. Inside, she finds nothing but dust and the ghost of smoke's past. The crushing reality hits her like a truck, and she collapses in utter despair. Clinging to her last sad cigarette butt, she faces the grim truth. Her supply is officially gone. With her last smoke clenched in her teeth, Ura challenges the entire angelic squadron to a fight. An angel leader charges in, sword ready to silence the defiant human. But his attack is cut short as a mysterious weapon pierces him from the side. The celestial soldiers recoil, complaining about a sudden, foul stench filling the air. The source is a strange, dripping crystal, squeezed tight in a powerful hand. Their surprise attacker is none other than Tauros, vowing to let no one pass. He leaps into the fray, a blur of demonic fury ready to defend his goddess. The first angel goes down hard, completely overwhelmed by the gatekeeper's assault. A fierce glint in his eye shows he's just getting warmed up. Ura watches from the sidelines, casually noting it feels weird letting a mostly naked guy do all the fighting. She wonders if she should follow Tauros' lead and fight with less clothing on. But with her last cigarette butt clenched in her teeth, she has other priorities. Besides, she complains that comparing her normal body to his chiseled abs just isn't fair. Grimuel nervously listens as she debates whether a naked smoker is cool or just plain weird. The little demon realizes she's not just rambling, she's fully aware of how screwed they are. Ura knows they're completely outnumbered, and even Tauros can't fight an entire army alone. But her eyes narrow as she spots the real problem hiding in their ranks. An archangel is preparing a massive ranged attack, ready to wipe them out from a distance. Grimuel realizes that without wings, they're just sitting ducks for an aerial assault. With their options dwindling, Ura knows it's time for a new plan. Ura realizes her only option is a wide-area attack, using her smoke to hit every enemy at once. But Grimuel refuses to let her face the danger alone, clutching his hands with determination. He gets right in her face, vowing to protect his goddess with his life. Her last cigarette butt fizzles out, leaving her completely powerless. With a look of pure dread, she informs Grimuel that her last smoke is officially gone. The archangel seizes the opportunity, preparing a volley of crystal projectiles. He unleashes a devastating barrage, sending a storm of energy hurtling towards them. Ura and Grimuel can only watch as the deadly attack rains down from the sky. Their eyes widen in terror as they realize the sheer number of projectiles is overwhelming. But Tauros leaps in front of Ura, taking the full force of the attack to protect his new goddess. The mighty warrior's body is pierced by the crystal storm, acting as a living shield for his goddess. Ura frantically asks if he's okay, but the bloodied demon just asks if she's all right. The archangel's attack was so indiscriminate that it's even taking out his own troops. Furious at the cheap shot, Ura yells that cowards who can't even flap their own wings shouldn't be flying. But Grimuel isn't helpless, pulling out a massive hand cannon with a look of pure determination. He fires a cross-shaped blast, taking down an angel and surprising everyone with his hidden firepower. The little demon declares they'll crush the angels first and sort out the details later. He suggests cursing the archangel with her smoke, but Ura points out he's way too far away. Suddenly, a massive branch scoops them up, and Grimuel calls out to their unexpected ride. The ancient tree Gurutu has joined the fight, rocketing them towards the sky with a furious roar. The angels are completely caught off guard by the sudden appearance of a giant, angry tree. Grimuel frantically screams for Lady Yanakasu to light a cigarette and save them. But Ura yells back that she can't. Her last precious butt isn't even lit yet. The little demon freezes, the horrifying implication of her words dawning on him. He realizes with dawning horror that without a smoke, their goddess is completely powerless. Now airborne, they're just a sitting duck completely surrounded by the angelic army. The archangel scoffs at their charge, dismissing it as a foolish and meaningless attack. With Grimuel holding her steady, Ura desperately tries to light her last pathetic cigarette butt. Her thumb flicks the lighter again and again, struggling to get a single life-saving spark. Finally, a flame catches, igniting the frayed end of her last hope. With her last butt finally lit, Ura prepares to unleash hell. But the angels strike first, impaling Grimuel from all sides in a devastating sneak attack. Even as his life fades, the little demon smiles, his faith in his goddess unshaken. Ura can only watch in horror, splattered with the blood of her first true friend. Fueled by pure rage, the injured Tauros charges forward, a blur of demonic vengeance. The celestial soldiers are caught completely off guard, not expecting another fighter to join the fray. Grimuel defiantly holds his ground, refusing to let the angels get past him even now. Tauros roars with pride, calling the brave little demon a true warrior. The mighty gatekeeper soars through the sky, ready to take on the entire angelic army alone. Meanwhile, the archangel casually catches one of his own projectiles in his mouth, preparing a nasty surprise. The archangel spits the crystal back out, blasting Tauros with a devastating counterattack. Ura watches in horror as the projectile pierces right through her loyal bodyguard. Even with the weapon lodged in his mouth, the mighty demon just spits out a single, defiant word. Tears of pure rage stream down Ura's face as she witnesses her friends fall one by one. A subordinate warns the archangel that a skull is approaching, but he seems to already know. With a voice dripping with venom, Ura addresses the entire angelic army. She declares that if they wanted a war, they've officially got one now. But their greatest crime was unforgivable. They made her last cigarette taste absolutely disgusting. Suddenly, a strange, pipe-smoking old man appears, calmly noting that what she's smoking isn't tobacco. Ura's rage is instantly replaced by pure confusion, sputtering as she tries to figure out who this new guy is. The old man calmly introduces himself as Yumogi, completely unfazed by the chaos. The archangel watches from afar, confused by this unexpected and unreported arrival. Even while bleeding, Grimuel is in awe, believing Ura has summoned a powerful smoke demon. Ura tearfully begs the old man to just get rid of the angels like her smoke skull did. Yumogi clarifies he's not one of her rampaging skulls, much to her confusion. Her mind completely overloads, the stress of the situation finally catching up to her. Ura points at the angels, screaming that they're the enemy, and he needs to fight them now. The old man dramatically announces a flashy attack name, hoping to impress her into action. She's completely stunned by his childish antics, yelling that she's a 30-year-old woman. Yumogi just smirks, declaring that while he's ancient, his heart is forever 5 years old. Ura strikes a pose as Yumogi unleashes his ultimate technique, demonic soul-smoking incense type 0. In a flash, the old man phases right through the archangel, completely ignoring his defenses. The celestial commander is stunned by his incredible speed, unable to even track the movement. With a look of intense concentration, Yumogi prepares to unleash his signature move. He exhales a cloud of pipe smoke directly into the bewildered archangel's face. Ura cackles with glee, shouting that he totally deserved that second-hand smoke. But instead of collapsing, the archangel seems to be enjoying the strange sensation. He's completely baffled, wondering why his body suddenly feels so healthy. Ura's jaw drops, realizing this old man's smoke has the opposite effect of hers. The archangel stares at his hands, realizing with dawning horror that he's actually getting stronger. The archangel is so invigorated he's literally producing a giant crystal out of thin air. Ura screams at the old man, reminding him she said his smoke was for healing, not for buffing the enemy. Yumogi calmly tells the archangel that now he understands there's no malice, wishing everyone good health. The supercharged angel thanks him by blasting a massive energy beam right at his face. Ura dodges the blast, but a massive scaly tail whips past, revealing a new player has joined the fight. It's the ancient tree Gurutu, who looks down at Ura with a bottle in hand, calling her name. The giant tree offers a single powerful command: live. Gurutu's branches form a protective cocoon around Ura, shielding her from the chaos. She's then launched to safety, flying through the air as the tree takes the fight. The archangel's beam slams directly into Gurutu's face, a direct hit on their massive protector. A massive crystal spear pierces Gurutu, but the ancient tree barely flinches. The archangel gloats, celebrating his successful strike against their massive protector. He orders his troops to capture Ura, believing her strange power is a gift for their god. Inside the tree, Yumogi casually asks Ura for a plan, admitting he's not much of a fighter. Ura takes stock of her remaining arsenal, a pathetic collection of 8 used cigarette butts. She debates smoking them all for a power-up, but knows a strategic retreat is the smarter play. Gurutu's voice booms, urging her not to hesitate while there's still time to act. The battle's aftermath splatters across Ura, a grim reminder of her fallen friends. A new demon arrives on the scene, grimly noting the injuries his comrades have sustained. With a mouthful of cigarette butts, Ura finally accepts her destiny, declaring herself the legendary Yanikasu. She gives the angels one last chance to repent before unleashing the full power of Yanikasu. With a dramatic pose, she unleashes her ultimate technique, demonic soul-smoking incense 13th style. Her skull smoke dance sends a legion of phantoms swarming through the angelic ranks. The celestial soldiers choke on the foul smoke, their bodies rejecting the overwhelming impurity. An angel loses his grip, dropping the unconscious Grimuel from the sky. The little demon plummets towards the ground, completely helpless. But Yura catches him, cradling her injured friend as they make their escape. Grimuel sleeps soundly, a peaceful smile on his face now that the danger has passed. He awakens in a tranquil forest, resting his head on the lap of a mysterious horned woman. The woman smiles, noting a strange yet comforting smell that seems to relax her. The little demon slowly opens his eyes, still dazed from the intense battle. Ura breathes a sigh of relief, glad they made it back to safety in one piece. They've returned to a workshop where Tauros is already busy hammering away at a new project. Grimuel sits up in a panic, frantically asking what happened to the angelic army. Ura awkwardly points towards Tauros, who seems completely absorbed in his handiwork. The mighty demon works with intense concentration, a determined look on his face. He proudly presents his finished creation, a smoking pipe crafted from the Archangel's remains. Tauros cheerfully explains their no-waste policy, much to Yura's and Grimuel's horror. Grimuel praises her for driving the angels away, but Yura admits she's just completely out of smokes. The little demon realizes with dawning awe that she sacrificed her entire supply just to protect them. Ura admits that after just one night, she's finally ready to get serious about this whole hero thing. With a confident smirk, she declares they'll create the world's strongest cigarettes by tomorrow night. Elsewhere, a small ghost-like creature is trapped inside a round glass bottle on a table. The little spirit wakes up in a panic, frantically wondering if it's actually dead. A mysterious figure in a gas mask confirms its suspicions, addressing the spirit as Hinael. The masked man seems surprised to be speaking with a divine being, holding the bottle with curiosity. Leaning in close, he demands to know who was powerful enough to defeat an angel like Hinael.